We are live.
Yeah. Live. NFL.
Yeah. Yeah. NFL 2K5, baby.
Yeah.
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 Griff,
Yeah.
let's hear you say yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian Reynolds? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, that Miles Adams rep at the end of that game? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about Miles Adams.
Yeah.
He's been playing some good football.
Yeah.
Yeah. When they don't play him as
Thanks,
a G nose tackle, they let him
Yeah.
actually play 3 tech and 5 tech. Lo and behold.
Mm-hmm.
But that's actually for the podcast. We're talking about football too much here. This is very bad.
Oh yeah, that's
Happy
right.
New Year, everyone.
Oh yeah. Happy New Year.
2023. I think 2023 is better number than 2022. Right?
Yeah, no, it's going to be a lot easier to say, especially for me, on Locked On. Like, I always introduce the show like it's, December 18th, 2022. 2022, It trips me up, man. Trips me up all the time.
Little pro tip there.
Right? Hey, if you want to try it, you can steal my steez, whatever. I'll let you.
Does that not get confusing though for the live listener?
There is no live listener on Locked On. We don't do live shows.
We don't do that.
No,
Little tip.
Pre-record.
At the Seattle Overload podcast, we do it live as well, and we get like live interaction. It's quite cool.
You do, huh?
You can maybe try it.
Whoa,
for your Locked On thing.
Bullying me, huh? Wow. All right. 2023 is the return of Toxic Matty. Cody Barton really let's ride it today.
He did. He's a cowboy.
He did.
With his hats.
Yeah.
And he was wearing an outdoor brand of, no free ads, but a Seattle outdoor brand in his post-game presser.
Nice. Good for him.
Did you see SpongeBob and Patrick?
Yes.
Yeah.
They look very well. Nice to see them looking so
nice to see them.
Well.
They're old now.
I didn't even realize was this game on Nickelodeon because they let slimes people, didn't they?
Yeah, no, like people got slimed or some shit in the locker room.
But was it on Nickelodeon? Because
it wasn't on Nickelodeon. And like even if it was going to be on Nickelodeon, this game would have also been on CBS, not Fox. So I don't know why they were there.
I guess Patrick and SpongeBob. I mean, they're probably interested in the Seahawks.
Maybe it's just some like
they're fans.
Maybe it's just some Nickelodeon supercut thing they're filming.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Wow,
it could be like a
DK Metcalf's cool. He likes SpongeBob. He had 1 catch for 3 yards.
I'm very aware. My fantasy team is also very aware.
Oh no, we're so upset for you.
I know. Thank you.
Have you lost money?
No, I'm actually in the lead. Fine. I'm actually in the lead right now, but
I avoided my forfeit. So
there you go. No night at what was it called again?
No free ads.
Oh yeah, no free ads.
Right. But Weatherspoons.
Yeah, Weatherspoons. No free ads though. No free ads. Seahawks on tape.
Oh, not a free ad. Oh yeah, very funny.
Yeah. I thought you were doing that on purpose. You weren't. Well, we'll just say that you were. We'll just say
I'm a funny guy.
As a bit.
Yeah.
Also, as a bit, we could, talk about this Seahawks win.
Should we do that? I mean, Griff's not even talking at the moment. It's quite.
We already have 18 viewers.
I know, it's amazing. Tell a friend. 2023 off the right way by listening to the Seattle Overload post-game victory podcast, which is going to be very exciting because we're happy and I'm having a 2 a.m. coffee.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
That's very right.
We're going to get wacky and wild on this episode.
You know what's cool? So today, at sort of midway through the first kind of quarter of the Commanders game, I just, I didn't lose faith, and I'll tell everyone to keep faith. I didn't lose faith. I just, I went in a certain folder and started getting out the older Georgia defense all 22 and Alabama defense all 22.
Oh,
yeah.
Just fancied maybe preparing for a little watch of a certain Jalen Carter, certain Will Anderson. Found out that Jalen Carter has the same birthday as me, so I did deep research into these guys. But luckily, I don't need that clip.
I mean, you didn't watch Jalen last night? Hashtag Jalen.
Are we?
Hashtag
We're getting
Jalen.
him to fall to. I like it. Get him to fall to 10. Trade down twice. Nice.
No. I'm not doing that. I'm not being one of those guys right now. I was just asking you if you watched Jalen last night. That was it.
My light almost fell off.
You know, we're very professional podcasts here over at Seattle Overload, as you can see. Very professional setups. This is a very well funded podcast. So we'll be back with you guys in just a moment.
That's right.
Griff, what would make you more excited on Sunday? Seahawks win and a Packers loss, or a Brian Reynolds trade? You can only have one.
Only have one?
You can only have one.
Well,
and
I'll go.
If you don't pick Brian Reynolds, he gets traded to the Rangers.
Oh no!
yeah. There you go.
Oh no!
Oh, I fixed that so good.
Man. Oh shoot!
Isn't it? Hang on, Brian Reynolds got traded to the Rangers?
No.
Oh, the Dodgers.
Over.
The Dodgers, right?
No.
Oh, I thought I missed it.
No. Get out of here. Get out of here with that.
Well, shoot.
Stop putting that black magic on us. Stop it.
I prefer brown magic.
That's true.
Yep.
That's true. Yeah.
Oh, I like this analysis. Dane sounds quite tired and hungover.
Yeah.
Well, firstly, Ty, in your country, you can plead the fifth.
It's true.
Would you like to take that option?
You're not allowed to do that.
Yes.
You have to answer the question in English.
Yeah.
Oh, do I not understand American law? Is my
American law?
No, we're asking. No, we're asking if you can't do that.
Like you have to provide an answer in court. You can't say I plead the fifth.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
Whoa, just blew my mind.
Yeah, no, you can't do stuff like that.
Interesting.
Well, anyway, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth.
Fifth?
Yeah, fifth.
Okay. Should we start the podcast?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Hopefully, my light doesn't fall over. I've weighed it down with my other microphone, so that's fine. That's all good.
We're rocking and rolling.
Okay, fingers crossed. Right. Welcome to the Seattle Overload podcast, where the Seahawks have beat the New York Jets 23-6 in their big Week 17 game. Obviously, we're now in a weird world where the NFL season is 18 weeks long, and so Seattle will have to wait until next week to find out if they've made the playoffs or not. They're 9-8. Unfortunately, results elsewhere went their way, but then didn't go their way. So what happened was the Green Bay Packers ended up winning very heavily against the fraudulent paper-built Minnesota Vikings, 41-17. The Packers now own the tiebreak over the Seattle Seahawks. So that sucks. Did I say Seattle's 8-7? They're 8-8.
You said 9-8, but they're 8-8.
They're not yet 9-8. They're hoping to go to.
They're going to be 9-8.
Yes. Now, the big thing that did happen, the positive, was the Commanders lost. They're now done. They went 7-8-1. They lost to the Browns 24-10. And then in the very funny Broncos situation, Denver actually played all right. But there was some shaky moments still, and they lost 27-24 to the Chiefs. So they're 4-12. Seattle still has the 3 overall pick. So, gentlemen, Seattle needs the Packers to lose at home to the Detroit Lions next week, and Seattle needs to then beat the Los Angeles Rams. So,
Mhm.
how are we feeling about that? Are you optimistic?
And on top of that, the Seahawks fans also want the Chargers to beat the Broncos next week,
Right.
and that would lock in at least the number 3 pick. I think they can also still get the number 2 pick, right?
Yes, and the 10-6 Chargers are playing for playoff position. Baltimore maybe 10-5, but there'll be seeding going on there. Potentially because Baltimore plays the Bengals, who are 11-4 in Week 18. So the Chargers have something to play for, which is good news. And I mean, the Cardinals, it almost looked like they were going to beat the Falcons, but they didn't. I doubt they beat the 49ers. But anyway.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the Vikings are frauds, like you
maybe
said.
They'll lose to the Bears next week.
Possibly. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
That'd be
Boost
nice.
the position.
That'd be nice if they did that. Yeah, get to number 2 instead of number 3. Don't have to
We have
worry
a
about
chance.
Chicago taking one of the guys, and maybe you just have your chance of that guy, or your choice of that guy, rather. But yeah.
Griff, have you lost faith?
We got a chance. No, not at all. They can win next week.
Mm-hmm.
And the Packers playing the Lions, I mean, you can't ask for a more like 50-50 kind of game. We're not asking for a prayer here like the Bears beating the Packers, right? The Lions are a formidable team,
Yep.
so they're fighting for the playoffs too.
Yep. Good offense,
So,
scrappy team. We'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay, so that's that boring, mundane stuff, which is also very important, dealt with. Seattle today played a weird sort of game where it looked like it was going to get weird in a Seahawky way in the fourth quarter, where suddenly they hadn't put away the Jets. The offense had only scored 3 points in the second half. They only had a 2-score lead. There was like a really weird, almost pick thrown by Gino after like they tried to get a Wisesail downfield shot popped and it wasn't open. And he went for a check down and it was like right to a linebacker. I don't know how that wasn't picked. Like it looked picked, but it was short anyway. And then they had a weird thing where Gino, it slipped out of his hands after Walker hit him in a mesh point where it was like an RPO, and then it was a fumble, which luckily Seattle recovered. And it was also helped, of course, Ty by how bad Mike White was, and so Seattle came up fine. Even though, like, I mean, if you read their third down numbers, which Pete Carroll was disappointed by, 5 of 15, 33.3%, below that 50% mark they're looking for, not really good enough in their eyes. And in the red zone, 2 for 5, 40% conversion rate, which just isn't good enough either. But Ty, Mike White, before we get to the offense, sucky.
Dude, he sucks. Like really sucks. Like really, really, really sucks. And it's weird too, right? Because like you hear the stories, you hear about like, oh yeah, he just put up like 25 plus with the Jets offense, all this stuff against whoever. And it's like, okay, this feels like one of those games where maybe this dude just drops 24 plus on the Seahawks heads. He was terrible. He definitely helped the Seahawks out quite a bit in this one. There were some dudes wide open on some third downs, just sailed the ball over their head. He's terrible. This was somewhat a byproduct of that, but I don't want that to necessarily take away from a pretty good defensive performance overall for Seattle's defense. Griff, what did you see?
Yeah, pretty much the same observations. Only scored 6 points, so playing a horrible quarterback, you'd hope that if you can hold them up to 6 points, then you did your job for the most part. And they even had some opportunities on the other end that the Seahawks didn't capitalize on, some dropped interceptions, things of that nature. So, and it's not like the supporting cast around the Jets or around Mike White was, nothing. They have a good receiving core. They have decent protection. So it was nice to see everyone else win their matchups for the most part. Again, like you said, Ty, with better quarterbacking, the Jets probably put together at least one touchdown drive, maybe get into field goal range a couple more times. But it's all relative statements. If you're facing a bad offense, you want to keep them, bad statistically, and they did. So they did their job on that note.
Yeah, Quandre Diggs with an interception where I mean, it did look like Abram was kind of beat, and he if they do make the playoffs, is going to be the guy that teams will pick on in the matchup nature of the playoffs, especially. It looked like he was beat, but Diggs made a great play that Seattle in cover one, gets over the top of it, intercepts, and then Mike Jackson with a pick where good way to overlap in a deep third, playing two up the seam, but the slot receiver up the seam, but Mike White must have said that one down pretty bad. Like Garrett Wilson, who is an offensive rookie of the year candidate, to your guys' point about, the Jets having some weapons. But yeah, that was just a weird throw. It was like completely off time. But yeah, 2 picks, could have been more. I'm trying to see who else got their hands on the football. Could have been like 5, right? And the Jets also, they only went 4 for 13 on third down, 30.8%. And it's rare in the NFL, as Pete Carroll mentioned, Quandre Diggs mentioned afterwards, that you do have a game where you don't allow a touchdown. Like that's something to hang your hat on, as is the takeaways. But yeah, there were some misses from Mike White, high or low or not on point, where a better quarterback, despite pressure in his face, despite perhaps being contacted by a dude, makes the throw, because guys were getting open. Like I think one of the other LaFleur, I think he called a pretty good game, and and
there were
and
there were like a couple of wheel routes like to Uzama that he like overshot, like that he was Uzama was just wide open. He was just awful today, awful.
Yeah, and so also a slight concern was the rushing attack of the Jets, which only ended up with 75 rushing yards. But in the first half, I believe that number was about 70, and they were kind of pounding away at it. Seattle was having serious difficulties stopping the Jets' rushing attack. And Pete Carroll said that they made some adjustments, like basic technical things. Now, that could have been like in an alignment thing up front, or it could have been they're busting some stuff. But it did seem like they tweaked the technique their nose tackle was playing with in the first half to the second half, although we'd have to watch the tape for that. But interesting that Seattle, the adjustments worked, I guess, and they called in some nice fire zones in the second half, which kind of stopped what the Jets were getting.
There was a lot of movement in the second half, and I think that was also in part a reaction to not having Brooks out there. They didn't feel like they could just line up and play technique. They needed to throw action at the offense, and that seemed to work. That also seemed to like enliven the defensive line, because they weren't playing poorly in the first half, but they were just really firing off the ball and playing more aggressively with that. I think it just suits their skill sets more. Maybe that's why last year Ken Norton Jr. was such a heavy run blitzing team, or like line movement team, when he felt like he needed to be. It just, even though, a lot of those guys are big dudes, they just seem to do better when they can make the first move. But yeah, also like you said, I really want to get into the tape when it becomes available, because I want to know what those technique changes were, those scheme tweaks up front, or that Pete mentioned were technique tweaks, because it did seem like they were once again shooting themselves in the foot, especially to start the game. And it's like the same players have defended the same concepts, very well in the past, even this year, and it just seemed like they were kind of reverting back into other stuff. So I really want to see what is there on tape with that.
Yeah, and as pointed out in the comments by David Crockett, who's been a long time supporter of us, he says it's worth saying White was coming off broken ribs and wearing a flak jacket for the first time. That is valuable context, and he has had better games than this, but this was not his game today. So big news with the defense as well, of course, is Jordan Brooks' injury. He was carted off with a knee injury. Pete, in his post-game presser, said he was going to the hospital to get imaging on his knee, but Ty, that looked like a bad one.
Yeah, I was a little worried at first that it was his Achilles, the way that he pulled up and then grabbed the back of his leg immediately. Now comes the really important part here. Now that we know that it's a knee, is it an ACL? Is it an MCL? Is it both? Is it patella tendon? Because usually with the ligaments, they're pretty good about fixing those up, and that could mean, obviously this is kind of at the back of our minds. Ultimately we want Jordan to just be okay at the end of the day. But you're looking at possibly him being ready around training camp if it's just a ligament issue. But if it's a patella tendon issue, I mean, that could wipe out most of, if not the entirety of his 2023-2024 season as well, because we don't know what those things are so difficult to return from. We've seen with Will Dissly, we've seen with Trey Brown. We saw how long it took for Trey Brown to come back this year, and his injury was in November of 2021. So yeah, it's really sucks, and we've talked time and time again, particularly in the build up to the season, about the lack of depth that they had at linebacker. So losing Brooks, I mean, that's the worst case scenario. So Cody Barton had a pretty nice game today. Tanner Muse had a pretty nice game, I think, seemed to, at least, and so but the magnitude of this loss is probably going to be really, really felt at some point here, and so it's awful.
Yeah, Cody Barton did have a great game, but the difference between him and Brooks, aside from other things, is the explosive ability. Brooks is a whole different level of athlete, and obviously a very talented linebacker in his own right too, along with that. So yeah, big loss, and you don't know how, because it's late in the season when he'll come back. And inside linebacker, which looked like a minor need, where you maybe had hoped they'd address it in the past draft for like a bit of depth to push Barton. Now that could suddenly become a massive, massive need, because I mean, it helps in the NFL if you have someone who can run. Seattle in the past has shown how much they value that position. You might even get Jamal Adams playing actually in a linebacker spot.
Yeah.
As a solution, we'll see. But that sucks. Hopefully, it's not as bad as it looks. For what it's worth, and I don't know how much it is worth, but the Twitter doctor experts, they were all saying that it looked like an ACL injury. So the other injury news is that Tyler Lockett, who played through the hand injury, which is remarkable, comes back after a week. He has 10 pins in his hand, which sounds awful. But he was targeted 2 times, caught both passes for 15 yards at 7.5 yards average, with a long of 8 yards. He then left the game, and you probably thought, oh, that will be his hand. He can't play through it. And no, it was a lower leg injury. So then suddenly you get very frightened, and you're like, oh no, not Tyler out. This could be a real bad end to the season for Seattle. But he did then come back into the game. He was on the sideline with his helmet, and then they held him out towards the end. So he could have played if they needed him to. I'm sure he'll be managed throughout this week, and he'll be able to play week 18. But he's obviously banged up like a lot of these guys are right now, but he's going through it. So yeah, hopefully that's all good. And so the offense, Griff, actually was more tight end dominated, or, and Metcalf, 1 catch for 3 yards after 5 targets in his marquee matchup with Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, that didn't. Those matchups didn't go great. He did have the one. He dropped it, but he won on the route. He just couldn't quite bottle it in. Perfect ball too. Really, really disappointing. It was a tight end oriented game. I thought, because they didn't have Tyler at 100%. There was a lot of quick game where they went into the drop back game, but they were sharp there. The completions to Mabry and Colby Parkinson, just boom, get the ball out of your hand type stuff, like really 1 read, 2 read stuff. They were sharp there. That was good. A lot of those plays kept drives going. The play action concepts, though, those didn't really seem to pop, and I suspect that's because the Jets just covered the crap out of them. All in all, though, I thought Geno played really well this game. I don't think there was only one throw where I thought he put the ball in harm's way. That was on that he was trying to get out of that sack on that one play action. It was like a busted protection. I think in drop back, though, the offensive line did okay, not great. I think Stone Forsythe did just okay. I don't think he was horrible, but he wasn't as good as Lucas's best that we've seen. Granted, it's only 1 start from Forsythe. All in all, I think Geno was, like, his velocity, like the velocity concerns we had in the 49ers game and like that Panthers game, that seemed to evaporate. Like everything was flying off his hand this game. So that was good. And none of that, like the term we've used, like where Gino gets frustrated, it seems like he's pressing, trying to make something happen that isn't there. I didn't feel that this game. Thought all of his, like even his tight window throws were like good process. Like there's an option, there's a possibility there. Not all of them,
Yeah, the broadcast was so weird about that, Griff. Like they were like, "Whoa!" So they'd never seen an NFL throw before.
Right. I mean, that's a routine hard throw. But it's still routine. Like that one. So the one to DK on that slant. The only way you would consider that a pick, provided you don't underthrow it, is if you beat the safety or not. And you beat the safety. So like in terms of an interception, unless the corner can make a one-handed diving interception, that's not a pickable throw. It was a great play by the corner to bat it down, but still, it was on target. He just made a play. But yeah, so other than that, I think, we have the couple of drops to K Johnson, DK's drop on the sideline, and then not having Lockett kind of explains the statistical day, of which was not bad. It was an average statistical day. But more excitingly, though, was the run blocking, right?
Yeah, and against a really talented defense like this too. This was pretty surprising for me that they found this kind of success. And I mean, a big part of that is the huge run to start the game. Was it 60 yards down into the red zone?
Right.
And that so yeah, 133 yards on the day for Ken Walker, and DJ Dallas had some quality runs as well. That's a really nice day, and especially when you lose one of your best run blockers in Will Dissly this past week, for you to respond that way. Also, we should mention real quick, congratulations to Tyler Mabry on his first career NFL catch and NFL touchdown. That was a really cool moment for him. He's been hanging around on the practice squad for the last couple of years, just been grinding, and finally got his chance today and got himself a touchdown. That was awesome.
That was a tight window throw.
Yeah,
that was nice and really good play design from Waldron. Like, well, it's the type of thing that if it doesn't work, you're like, "Oh, that's a bit cute. That was too cute." But they came out in 13 personnel with Derek Young as their receiver, which obviously for them is a very run-heavy look. And then they motioned or shifted into like that 2 receiver look to the boundary, the short side of the field, and they throw in the little stick route to Mabry. Really nice stuff, like kind of exploiting their own tendencies.
Yeah, I agree. I think we talked about it. We didn't see a lot of it, but we talked about how pure drop back from under center might have been a fixture this game, and granted, we only saw it like 2 times, but the one time that I remember, it worked.
Go on, Griff, pat yourself on the back.
Yep.
Well done, lad.
We're good. Yep.
Good stuff. Right. So
should have done more of it though.
No, oh yeah, indeed. But it was nice with the run game and the fact that they did under center and they didn't do what they do against the 49ers where they panic. There were some weird drives in there where the fact that their shots downfield didn't work kind of killed those drives, right? Like, and sometimes it seemed like they didn't have a check down. Again, big game to watch the film and see actually what was going on. But 198 rushing yards for 38 carries, 5.2 average, and I think 2 of those would have been a quarterback sneak, which gets the average down a bit. But I mean, that's just, you can't complain about that against the kind of the same style of defense as what the 49ers run with those wide nines, and the fact that they're using, pair tight ends to exploit the width of that defense and run on them, like on that 60-yard run to open the game. That's really, really encouraging. And Stone Forsythe, Pete Carroll praised him after the game. I think he was fine. Again, need to watch the tape, but nice that he slotted him with Abraham Lucas inactive. You might have imagined that he'd have struggled. I think Gabe Jackson had an up and down game, but we have to watch the tape. But he's still struggling, I think. And Quinnen Williams isn't an easy matchup. Don't get that twisted either. And interesting that Jake Curhan sort of lost out to Stone Forsythe in the right tackle job. I know Forsythe is no longer a rookie, so maybe they're just thinking, okay, we're okay to try him at another spot, even though, he had a background at right tackle. He had some reps logged there in the preseason this time round, but still interesting that Forsythe beat out Curhan. He's obviously more athletic. He's got longer arms. He's probably the higher upside guy, but Curhan did have a promising stretch down the back end of 2021, particularly as a run blocker when the run game was basically dominant anyway. So, talking about the offensive line, the D line kind of came alive in this game. Now, we were asked actually on Twitter, Griff. You didn't reply, which is really rude of you, but I did.
I might have missed it.
Yeah. You missed it or you ignored it? Okay. The D line came alive. Quinton Jefferson had 1.5 sacks. Darrell Taylor had 2.5 sacks. I don't know what the pressure numbers are, but I imagine they'll be quite high. Griff, why is suddenly Darrell Taylor playing well?
Well, it's more favorable down and distances, some more passing situations where he can just fly off the ball. And really, he's shown this explosiveness ever since that first Cardinals game. So I think athletically, I mean, at least in get off and like speed and stuff, I think he's the same guy he was last year at this point. It's just the rest has been circumstantial. And then when you're not playing on 1st and 10, because it's a run situation or a mixed situation, I mean, those are still passing opportunities that you will get on 1st down that he's not out there for. So, and I mean, his run defense did regress this year. He was an average run defender last year. He was fine, but so this is just a case of better run defense, putting him in better passing situations, and just more second and longs, more third and longs, and we get to see him reap the benefits of that. So I really think it's as simple as that. So I think long term, he's probably just a depth edge, but a really good one that you bring off the bench, just like you did with Cliff Averill in 2013. He was not a base player. He was a third down player, passing situation player, and he had 500 snaps. So if they get their act together next year on run defense, there's still hundreds of snaps for Taylor to play. To really get after it. So, I mean, his pressure rate this year is not as high as it was last year, but he did exceed his sack total already. I think he's got 8 now. So that's good stuff.
Ty, do you think? I don't know. Well, do you think Taylor should play more? Like, it's a weird one.
Yeah, it's still really weird, right? Because like, I don't want to get hurt. I'm trying to buy in here, but I don't want to get hurt because like, I don't know. I feel like there's been times where like he's shown some flashes, like the Chargers game, and then just kind of disappeared again. So I mean, hopefully this is a sign of good things. He looked pretty dang good today when I was watching him. So I mean, that would be huge if he's finally kind of gotten back on the horse here, and at the very least, if whether or not they play beyond next week, to at least finish the season off on a good note for him, and build some confidence back up heading into next year.
Yeah, Clint Hurt did say that things are starting to click for him a bit in the system, but
yeah,
he is still a pass rush specialist. He just, like Griff said, he's had more opportunities, better opportunities, and I think this week, like Lumenfield was loud. But like Mike White ain't really the type of quarterback to draw you off sides. I imagine the Jets' cadence was pretty, and silent count was pretty easy to work out, and so he can get the jump. What happens against the better quarterbacks, I think, is then they'll mix it up. If you jump off sides, then you don't play the same aggression. Griff.
Yeah, I was just gonna say he didn't just win with like speed rips either. He had a couple of like getting into half man and bending through contact, with a knockdown move. So that was good to see. It was kind of, and he showed a lot of that, especially the last month of last year too. So I don't know, like, is part of it him just kind of figuring himself out, and he just needs to stack reps to figure out his own rush plan? I'm not sure, but yeah, it was good to see some of those reps pop too. Because if he does become proficient at that, theoretically, I mean, he should be better than Frank Clark as an edge rusher, for example. To compare and contrast, because that was something Clark completely lacked, the ability to like corner with technique. He was all speed or speed to power. So
yeah, and Pete was saying how interesting you bring up Frank Clark, Griff, because Quinton Jefferson post game, he said that the Taylor's get off reminds him of Frankie.
Yeah,
and Pete said how Taylor is like everything is setting up off his speed rush, and then the counters come off that, and how Taylor kind of got into his counters. So you clearly know your stuff, Griff. Now, Taylor on the season is, I think he's got 7.5 sacks, which is nuts. Like
This season?
Yeah.
I thought he had. Wait, how many did he have last year?
He had 2.5 sacks today, and Pro Football Reference has him down for
7.5 now. Okay.
Yeah, 7.5. Yeah, which is wild. In
That's
what
crazy.
you say is down year, and so you look back on it. I mean, sacks get people paid, and that's only playing.
Right.
Like, if you read out his snap counts, it's only playing like, hovering around the 30% number in give or take. So that's one heck of a pass rush specialist. It's just you'd like there to be a more impactful early down outside linebacker who you can trust to set an edge, but also give you more pass rush than say Bruce Irvin has. Speaking of outside,
and I mean, like, let's just be straight up about it. There just needs to be more consistency, right? Like, this is like, yeah, he's, when you look back on it, it's going to look like he produced, but he produced kind of just in chunks and little bunches here and there. Need more consistent performance throughout the course of the season. So, but yeah.
That's true. Also a sort of surprising sack total. Quentin Jefferson has 5 sacks in the season. He's a guy who always does well in the pressure percentage numbers. And again, it's that thing of if you give him the opportunities, then he will get you some sacks and some interior work.
Jefferson has I think he's top 15 in pressure rate among interior defenders, and Harris is right there with him. I mean, these guys have been getting pressure. It's just that I think there's some stat floating around there like Seattle has top 5 shortest yards to gain on third down. And I'm sure by extension on second down it's rough too. And that's related to run defense. So, run defense matters in that it matters for a lot of reasons, but having atrocious run defense, the run matters at that point. So, and here I've got some numbers for us.
Hang on. I thought I was the stats boy.
Well, let me
stat boy today.
Let me just give you a breather, okay?
Thanks. That's much needed.
So, since week 6, which we used that line of demarcation because there was the starting lineup settled, right, and the scheme tweaks, right, and they've played around the last month with the scheme for different, probably injury related, and just trying to recover a little bit. So it's not that clean, but still from that window. Seahawks defense is 9th in total EPA per play from week 6 on till today, 4th in success rate, and then they're 7th in dropback EPA per dropback per pass, and then 4th in success rate versus the pass. But then this is where it gets really bad. They're 26th in rushing EPA, but 9th in success rate. So what that tells us is that explosive runs are just killing them. If they could just bottle down the explosive runs, like instead of a 50-yarder or a 40-yarder or a 30-yarder, make that one a 10-yarder. They're probably a firmly, I mean, they're probably 10 and what are they? Probably a 10-win team right now, 11-win team if they just cap explosive runs. So, it's unfortunate. But
so that includes today? You have up-to-date EPA, or is that not including today?
That includes today.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. You got a good EPA person, huh?
Yeah, I do.
Speedy.
Who's your plug?
But
RBSPN.com. All right. Very good. Right.
But yeah, so if they just, and I feel like at the core of it is a coaching identity issue with what they're trying to be schematically. If they just nailed that down more, they'd be in a lot better shape right now. But
yeah, so a lot of people seem to be surprised about Cody Barton's level of play, Griffin. Now that is slightly unusual to me because I actually think he's had a really good season. Okay, he's not going to have the same kind of power. Again, when we talked about Brooks and him being a different level of athlete, he can also hit harder than Cody, but Cody's had a solid season throughout the year. I think the reason people perhaps notice his level of play being good now is there's more consistency up front. Obviously, they had some shaky moments early in this game, but then they adjusted. And then lo and behold, your linebacker, rather than having to go and take a block on. He's not getting blocked. He's leveraging the block to the defensive help. Rather than going have to do that to an offensive lineman, he's actually able to make the tackle, or he's able to play faster because they're blitzed on the screen. But his job is to contain on the screen. He gets out there. That was a heck of a play on that screen play. Like, he took out 3 offensive linemen, I think, maybe just 2, but that was really special. And Quentin Jefferson cleaned up. So yeah, good for Cody.
There was also that one play on that dropped interception. I think Woolens, or was it Abrams, dropped interception. Cody was pushed into the I think under that sail, and he condensed the window pretty well too. So yeah, I mean, he's been good in coverage pretty much the whole year. And when he's assignment correct in the run game, he doesn't really have an issue with contact. It's just when he's not reading the play out right. And that's been a problem. That's been a more and more infrequent problem. And in some games, not been a problem at all. Like
yeah.
But yeah.
And the other guy who on the defense who I think deserves a special mention is Uchenna Nwosu, because I mean, in the box score, it's one of those where it probably doesn't pop too much. Just 2 tackles, 1 TFL, I guess. That's kind of splashy. That TFL, though, Ty, where he's like playing in a spinner position, he dips past the center, gets a tackle for loss. And there are some other plays as well. Maybe on the fire zone was a tackle for loss. But, you know, he's in the backfield, he's a menace, and getting played in like a spinner role like they used to do the old Leo position in Chris Clemens.
Yeah. He was big time in the run game today. I thought he had a really nice game today. Dude, getting Al Woods back was awesome, and he had a big stuff earlier on in this game. Like, that was a huge deal. Like, it was nice to see this front 4. I mean, obviously the front 7 in general, but this front 4 in particular actually get some wins consistently, especially in that second half, because they had like a couple of big runs that they allowed, but the second half they just locked that thing up. It's awesome.
Yep.
Oh yeah, Nwosu did recover a fumble at the end of half, as Jens pointed out in the chat. Thank you.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Mike White's weird fumble. Oh, wow, he was shaky. And Griff, you wanted to praise Miles Adams because he's pass rushing, and now they're playing him at 5 tech and 3 tech rather than asking him to play nose tackle. He's actually working his strengths a bit more, along with playing in passing down situations.
Yeah, I mean, he's a high density, like squatty, explosive guy with plays with great leverage, pad level. And he had 2 back-to-back reps on that final drive where he had 1 bull rush where he just destroys the right guard, throws him all the way into the quarterback's lap. And then the very next play, he feigns a speed rush and then spins back in. It's like very few guys can do that from 3 technique and actually look like they meant to do it on purpose. So yeah, he's and then he made plays in the run game. So yeah, when he's playing 3 technique and he's not asked to kind of 2 gap or pseudo 2 gap, can kind of play on angles on the outside or inside shades on guys. You know, I mean, I think he's a good player. I think he'll be a 300, 400 snap getter next year, and he'll be like the fourth defensive tackle in the rotation, especially depending on what happens with Monet. He probably will be out for all of next year. So yeah, he's a really good depth piece, and I hope they keep giving him more pass rush reps. Well, we've only got 1 game potentially left to see. Yeah, but I hope they really let him get after it, because I think there's something there with him.
It's funny though, because we said this last year. we said very similar stuff last year, but it is all about stacking reps and consistency and learning,
right?
And trust.
And then also this year, though, I mean, the Shelby Harris trade and the Quentin Jefferson signing, it makes sense that he didn't see as many reps. He probably would have seen more reps if they were consistently a 3-4 team instead of the 2-4 stuff, because that's 1 less 300-pounder that they need on the field, right? So if they had 3 300-pounders on it, we definitely would have seen more of them. But
yeah, and on the point of being a 3-4 team, I don't know if I just didn't pay attention properly last week because it was the holiday period, but seems like this is the first week we saw nickel bear, but big nickel. So 1 inside linebacker, 3 safeties out there, and no Kobe Bryant, and then bare front. But I don't know if I imagined that.
No, I thought I saw the same thing. Yep.
Which, like, putting Tabor and Abram and Diggs out there, like Tabor and Abram they weren't in your plans at the start of the season. So that's kind of interesting that they felt the need to do that. And I guess it's just about having enough variation and complexity to deal with. Like that was a heavy kind of like 11 personnel under center game plan and 12 from the Jets, and they're worried about stopping the run. So nice that they're not just relying on the 2-4 deal and getting gashed via that, I guess.
Right.
So I guess we should probably, it's hard to explore the offensive struggles in the second half and not scoring. And also the game state was a bit weird because the Jets were not doing anything. But like, Ty, are you concerned about the offense given that, you know, they did only score, 3 points in the second half, and they did have the ball in great positions and they didn't convert down in the red zone, and Lockett has 2 catches, which, you know, he's banged up. He leaves the game and comes back in. Metcalf has 5 targets for 1 reception, but the main target getter is Colby Parkinson, the tight end, 7 targets, 5 receptions, 36 yards, and a touchdown. Yeah, like, are you worried about this team, or is it just like a funky, weird game?
Just going off of this game, I don't know. They were able to move the ball fairly well, I thought, and you know, obviously the run game success is something to hang your hat on. The red zone struggles though are a little bit concerning to me, and just the overall, you know, lack of weapons, lack of options, because of injuries. You know, now you've lost Marquise Goodwin for the whole year. That happened, you know, in between our last recording and now. You know, Tyler dealing with what he's dealing with, and then, you know, if you're only, you know, real healthy, legitimate receiver is DK Metcalf, who has, you know, admittedly a limited route tree, like you're going to run into some issues if everyone else is, you know, kind of playing at their 60th, 70th percentile. So, yeah, that part's a little concerning. They ended up scoring 6 points in the second half. Like a late.
I'm not very good stats boy, am I?
Not yeah, you know, it's all good. We all have our off day. Maybe Griff should.
Yeah, you
take
might need to
over for the rest
offload
of the
that
show.
to someone else.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a lot of pressure on me, you know. I have
Yeah.
some stats, like.
Yeah, and Matty, like, not to be mean, but you're kind of crumbling under that pressure. So, like,
Yeah,
I don't know. You know what? We'll talk about it off air. We're gonna
have to reevaluate
now,
when we have our pre-off season meeting. We're gonna have to reevaluate.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
let's circle back to this.
Circle back. You know, another term that we could use to say that, U-turn. Let's U-turn.
Yep.
Let's U-turn, everyone. Back to this offense. Yeah, I don't know. I think we saw some pretty good things out of this team today against a defense that has the talent and the scheme that can give them some issues. And so, you know, ultimately I thought we saw some good stuff, and they made do with pretty much, you know, whatever they had left. You know, again, DK was non-existent for the most part this year, or this game. Lockett, you know, missed a good portion of this game with the hip thing and only had 2 catches for 15 yards, and they still made it work. They still were able to find the end zone twice in the first half, and you know, and they were still able, you know, to move the ball pretty well in the second half. They just weren't able to finish drives off. So.
Yeah, I mean, we can just use, you know, relativism to try to gauge how they did. They didn't have. I mean, DK didn't have a great game, and Lockett was a non-factor for injury-related reasons. And they played a really good defense, and their statistical like output was better than what the Jets have been giving up this year. So just from that perspective, you know, they probably exceeded, you know, expectations. So I think that's a good thing.
So you're not firing Shane Waldron, Griff, given you have that power?
No, I wouldn't. Because also the fact that they got the run game going, they clearly found their chemistry there, and they ran well on a good front. That's a good sign too. So, and I'm not, you know, beyond that, I just want to see the tape and see why things weren't opening up downfield off of the play actions. The pure drop back game, that's just they didn't have the receivers, and they went up against the top 5 secondary. So
yeah, it's interesting. Kay Johnson coming in and, like, you know, Gina sort of coaching him up on, like, okay, against this, we need you sort of in this spot, not here, and that sort of thing.
Right.
But Yeah, it felt like every time they called a shot play off play action, it was a negative play or an incompletion, which kind of then ended up killing a drive.
Mhm.
But obviously, they don't want to get into the inefficient run territory. But like, I don't know, it felt like the run game, they could have even done more of it. But
Yeah.
there are diminishing returns, and they wanted to try and stay balanced, right? Balanced in the other way in the running and the constraint play. But yeah, bottled up down the field. And like, there was the play where that drive where Gino took a sack where he was, it looked like he was looking at Metcalf's skinny post down the field, and he should have just slid up in the pocket slightly, crosses beat in like, well, not necessarily beat, but he's rushed around the arc, and if Gino steps up, maybe he can work with it. But like, the broadcast barely showed. They started showing the downfield stuff when the game was over and it was Seattle's defense. It's like, okay, well, I'd rather seen why. Where was the breakdown of DK on source? Where was the like little cut up of what was actually going on? And then of course, the two DK opportunities were the end zone one where Gino sees that they're in one high, but then man coverage from Ken Walker was out wide, so it told Gino he had man, and the safety actually started creeping over the top of DK, so he's basically double covered with press man against source, and they throw it back shoulder. Almost caught, a bit hot from Gino, tiny bit hot. DK still got his hands to it though, so he probably backed himself to make that catch, but just off. And obviously Gino's trying to get it away from the safety over the top. And then the other one was he's beautiful throw, Griff, where he throws it down the sideline. It was a bit like the catch from last week against the Chiefs, where it's perfectly weighted. Like the DB's in good coverage, but it's just outstretched, and DK sort of alligator armed it. He didn't keep his hands tight. He tried to one-hand it and then clasp it to his body, and it came loose.
Right. Agreed. Yeah.
So I don't know what else we've got to cover. Jason Myers missed a field goal. Ty, you worried about the Pro Bowl kicker?
Yeah, it's over.
J-My. He had a good run.
It's over for you, J-My. Nah.
Wouldn't that spice things up if every time a kicker missed, they had to be cut?
It was just like rule. It was like, that's in the new CBA.
Lawless. Like, kickers have no rights. They're just done.
Yeah. Yeah, but he got back on the horse, with late game field goal, extended the lead to 23-6. So he's back. We're back.
Really good swing of his leg on that one.
Yeah,
great
the return of J-My, good snap, good hold, laces out, of course.
Michael Dixon had a punt downed at the something one.
At the one. Yeah. Derek Young stopped it. Derek Young also had a couple of good reps at fullback today. Had a couple of nice blocks.
This did actually feel like I've already mentioned how they played up with the tendencies for that touchdown pass to Mabry, but like there was other like looks. I think they're more comfortable with the personnel they had out on the field, even though it's like, Lockett's playing limited and they don't have Marquise Goodwin out there. I think they sort of they knew what personnel they're going to have. They knew what looks they'd shown within the past. They came out with the same looks, but then ran different plays and kind of exploited that and mixed it up a bit, which was nice. Like both sides of the ball, they need to win, and they're coaching like they need to win. They're trying a lot of things, so be reassured by that, I guess. And it would be very Seahawky or maybe Pete Carroll if Sean McVay managed to best him next week, and it didn't matter if Green Bay lost or won. But you have to say, like, what head coach in the league would you rather have than Dan Campbell in a game that the team that you need them to win? Dan Campbell's going to try and win that game.
Yeah, the Lions he's going to do everything he can.
And if they do play at the same time, the Lions will be playing with the hope that Seattle bottles it against McVay and that they get in. So at least there's something to play for. You couldn't ask for more from a Seattle perspective, other than maybe we'll just win one more game, like one game against the NFC South. But anyway, that is done.
Packers better say goodbye to their kneecaps. Over for all of you.
They're going to be bitten.
Yeah, that's right.
Lovely.
That's right. Jared Goff, 450 yards passing, 6 touchdowns. Jared Goff is going to have the Matt Flynn game.
Oh, and
Let's go.
Detroit locks him into
Yeah.
a multi-year deal,
Yes.
and it's like the new Kirk contract
Yes. Yes.
or the old
yes.
Goff contract. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep,
And
yep,
then the
yep.
Seahawks go to Minnesota and beat the fraud Vikings.
That
After
is-
the
are
after the
gonna be
Vikings
number one
lose
seed?
after the Vikings lose to Chicago and give the Seahawks the second overall pick in the 2023 NFL draft.
But how did the Seahawks go to the Vikings then, Ty?
The 49ers also lose.
And the Eagles lose to the Giants.
That's right. That's right. Well, if
Oh.
the Seahawks were the 7, they would go to the 2. So Vikings just have to get, however, the Vikings would be the 2 seed.
You're right.
While also losing to Chicago.
Wow.
Is
You've
that
done
possible?
your research.
Let's do that.
Yeah, that's
Let's make that
possible.
happen.
That would be
Let's-
a dream.
Let's
you know
make
what?
that happen.
2023 is a year for dreaming.
That's right.
That's very sweet.
That's right.
Matty. I agree.
That's right, Matty. Yeah,
That was
absolutely.
touching.
Now,
That was
Griff, before we head out of here, 2023, do we have any 2023 jokes?
Well, before that, please like the video.
Oh, yeah.
We've had a lot of people subscribe to the channel, comments. If you're listening, 5-star reviews, follow the Twitter at Seattle Overload, follow Ty at Dane Gunzelers, follow Griffin at C-Mike Spinmove, follow me at Matty F. Brown. We appreciate you. Here is the man himself, Mr. C-Mike Spinmove, a comedic legend, notorious worldwide.
I came up with so many of them. I'm trying to choose which ones to use for this segment.
Well, don't melt onto the pressure.
Shout out to my
no.
wife, Caroline, and totally not my burner in the chat, telling me how smart I am. Thank you.
Oh, that's
love you.
nice.
Love you. Thank you for the reinforcement.
No, that's not good.
Disgusting support.
What is a New Year's resolution? Something that goes in one year and out the other.
That's
pretty good.
rubbish.
No, that was good.
No, that's
That was good.
rubbish.
I
liked
like
it.
that. I like
Rubbish,
that.
mate.
I like that one.
Matty,
No,
I came up with
I
that all by myself.
yeah.
That's
I
bloody
see.
awful.
I see where you were going with that. I see where you were going with that.
Yeah.
Did you make a New Year's resolution?
My New Year's resolution was to get Matty off of being the stats boy for the
New year, new grip.
Oh, you're coming for
Yeah.
me. Coming
Yeah.
for the title.
Always compete.
You know I'm big on titles. Like, it was very important to me to be the stats boy. But we'll talk about it off air.
Yeah,
Mm.
we'll keep that in
pre off season review. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess we're done. Goodbye,
Yeah,
guys.
That's it for us. All right.
Bye. Have a good night.
Peace.
Happy
Peace, everyone.
2023.
Goodbye.
Keep the faith.